Welcome to Talk Tennis. Today we have the legendary foot Dr. Zach is here with Troy and I.
Hey, thank you for having me. This is fun.
Yeah.
Can't believe I'm in here.
I know. Give me your first impressions of coming to Tennis Warehouse.
It's bigger than I thought it would be. It's deceivingly big from street level. And I got lost like 4 times trying to find the court, which just happened now. So,
and this is our smaller facility compared to Alpharetta.
Right?
So, yeah.
Before we get into details, you are like the person that gets the most specific questions because our audience is like, they want to know all the things. And you've really done a good job of being that guy.
I brought my visual aid, so
we're excited. But the first thing I'm going to bring up, because I know this is where Troy geeks out a little bit, the slides. Tell me about the slides.
I already asked about it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to me. Is that like an important part of your recovery process, or they're just super comfortable?
No, so I always like to get out of my shoes whenever I can, but I hate getting into something too squishy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I look for the most. You know, I need to have something that's kind of in that sweet spot where it has enough density to hold my foot up, but it's not super unforgiving that I'm just piling up. Because, I mean, when you play tennis, you sweat and then you start swelling, and, you know, after a while, you just need to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of why I'm always kind of like an evangelist of recovery slides.
Nice. And which ones are you wearing right now?
These are mine. I designed these with Xenon
that's
paddle.
Awesome.
Yeah. So these are ours. They'll be coming out soon.
Oh,
but
very cool.
I've been playing in these for about a year now, just testing this. We're on our 3rd or 4th iteration of it now, and it's finally where we want it to be. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
I was asking. I was like,
send a pair.
Yeah, if I can get a test pair, or I was like, what site do you got them? I'll make a purchase. You know, I'll support.
Huge.
Yeah,
I will send them to.
Cool.
And let's just like kind of go from there. All of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but we're hearing a little bit more about recovery footwear. So like, what are your thoughts on that, especially as tennis players?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've said this a lot to people when they ask me this. It's dealer's choice. It's you, however you like to recover. If you want to recover in a shoe that feels like a Squishmallow, that's your prerogative. The one thing I will say is that people confuse soft, comfortable shoes with recovery. Because a lot of times if you're pummeling through a shoe or there's no stability or structure to the shoe, the muscles in your leg, your lower leg especially, are doing more work to stabilize you while you're in that sandal or shoe versus actually being able to recover. So I always say, like, it's honestly better just loosen up your shoe if you have nothing else. It would be better than going into something like a tong sandal or thong sandal that you're just toggling back and forth, because it might feel good on the bottom of your foot, but the next day when you want that leg to fire again, like say you've got a match the next day or the next hour, those muscles are going to be way more rested if you've got something with a solid base under your foot. Yeah, you want it to be comfortable, but you definitely don't want a Squishmallow under your foot.
I've experienced that in person.
Yeah, I see people like recovering in these really narrow race day running shoes, and they're just like falling. They're falling all over the place. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So I think there's kind of like a misconception there as to what active recovery really is, because companies have gotten and the foams have gotten so good that they feel great, but what feels good in the moment isn't necessarily what is good over the long term.
Yeah.
And then let's go straight into foams. What are the foam trends you're seeing in tennis?
So interesting is that tennis actually has been lagging behind the running and basketball, even pickleball, into like leapfrogging into more of the thermoplastics, the super shoe type foams like PEBA, PEBX, TPEE foams. And it's because it's hard to stabilize those foams. You see them in running shoes, you see them in the super shoes, you see them at the Olympic marathon, in the New York marathon, whatever. And they're great when you're going in a straight line because they compress and they spring back. Side to side, though, most tennis shoes are still using heavier EVA or heavier TPU because the shoe needs to stay stable. The real breakthrough will be in being able to make either a thermoplastic or supercritical foam that stays stable enough going side to side that you're not twisting your ankle on. There's a few people that are getting there, and those shoes are in the pipeline probably in the 2025, 2026 lineups. You guys may have seen them, but it is right now, it's the side-to-side stability that most companies are still going after.
I had that conversation the other day with the men in charge of Running Warehouse, and we were talking about super foams.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, Nike had the code cracked. They had it with the GP Turbo.
Right.
They had the double stack Zoom Air, full length PEBX plate. I mean, that thing was a gazelle. I mean, it felt like one of those old moon shoes you had when you were a kid.
Exactly.
With and then they went away from it. And so I kind of thought we were going to start seeing things follow that trend with a shoe that felt like that. The Outsoles has a little bit of that in there because of that pronged shank on it where it actually bounces off of itself. So it has a little bit of that feeling. I got crushed in your comment section on Talk Tennis because I said that. But I still stand behind that. The Outsoles does a similar thing with that shank, but it's still not what you're seeing with like Dwayne Wade's shoes in the basketball space, where they're just using these explosive foams and they just feel so much different than what you're seeing in the tennis space. Do you need necessarily that in the tennis space? Maybe not. It'd be fun to see.
It'd be nice to have an option.
Yeah.
And D-Wade's still with the Leaning brand?
What's that?
Yeah,
he has a sub-brand under Leaning. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What's one of the most common things that you hear about that is an injury from tennis players caused by the incorrect footwear?
The number one injury I see any athlete, basketball, tennis, running, volleyball, whatever, is ingrown toenails.
Oh.
Because, those hurt. It's just because of the way tennis shoes are shaped, right? And that's just a thing, right? And breaking them in. Next, it would be heel pain, would be plantar fasciitis, plantar heel pain. And then the third would be Achilles tendonitis. And also nail fungus and nails popping off.
That was a question.
That's 100%.
Literally. Someone wanted to know, this has never been asked on the podcast before. What is black toenail fungus?
There is no such thing as black toenail fungus. What it is your nail gets detached, and then the micro blood vessels right here underneath the nail start squirting blood basically under the nail. This is going to be like on restricted mode. I swear on YouTube. But and then it dries because like there's so like the microscopic blood vessels.
Yeah.
And so the blood just seeps up under the nail. Then it dries, gets black, and then fungus loves a dark, damp environment. So then fungus comes in and feeds off of that, and then that's when you get a fungal toenail.
Oh my gosh.
There you go.
Hey, someone asked.
Yeah, I know, right? I didn't know that. Yeah.
Oh man. I'm also gonna ask more. I have seen a lot of players. Our own play tester this week or last week even dealing with some back issues. And would that correlate? I mean, I've seen a player, it's directly correlated to her footwear, but do you see that as a correlation?
It can be, yeah. I mean, increased shock up the leg, it's got to go somewhere. A lot of times it's people straining, right? So people that have really bad flat foot and they're straining, their knee is straining, so their hip strains. A lot of times it's actually hip pain and being and it was referred back pain. There's some people that are just more susceptible to back pain. It could be their mattress. I mean, there's a million and one things, right? It could be stress related, who knows?
Right.
But 100%. But normally with back pain and tennis, that is a lot of times something that is more treated with an orthotic. A shoe definitely helps, but if the shoe is fine, it's usually because they're straining somewhere that they shouldn't be.
I just saw one of your videos on aftermarket insoles. Maybe speak a little bit further about that.
The Ortholite video.
Yeah.
So those are the stock insoles in the shoe.
Okay.
Those are meant to make the shoe more comfortable. Then there's a difference between an insole and a shoe, and then there's an orthotic. Like an orthotic,
okay.
I don't have them up here, but like, a power step or something like that, or a custom orthotic. Those are actually made to contour the arch right here of your foot. I don't even know where the cameras are. Right here. Yeah. So it's meant to contour your foot. And like the stock insole in the shoe, I mean, it's not going to provide really a lot of arch support. So basically what you're trying to do is, and people don't realize this, is they always think the arch is back here, but it's just as important, like right up from the ball of your foot. That arch is a lot of times what causes your bunion. And so if you can brace this under here, you can stop this toggling. So that's what so that's why custom orthotics sometimes or finding the over-the-counter that fits you right is getting it to stop this strain here, because that's a lot of times when you're having arch pain, you're actually feeling it under here.
Yeah, I never thought about this sort of side lateral kind of movement. You always think about the arch collapsing as the problem. But
well, and that's the thing. Like if you look at people that always ask, like, oh, shouldn't we be in barefoot shoes or playing in wider toe box shoes because narrower shoes cause bunions? Well, if your foot's gonna splay, this bone's gonna splay out here. That's actually there you go. There's your bunion. Because when we fix bunions, this is actually what the bunion is. So that splaying will actually cause a bunion to form. So there's a real narrow window there between getting a toe box. It is shoe that's wide enough so it's not crunching your foot, but also not so wide that you're like straining to actually get traction or to get stability on the ground.
Just a quick question I had, talking about the orthotics. I seen one of your videos, and there was a brand of orthotic that you really were like endorsing or kind of like a fan of.
Oh, Power Step.
Power Step is the one? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a huge Power Step fanboy from when I was just out of residency. And then I didn't really start working with them until a few years ago. But yeah, I mean, I don't really do a lot of sponsored stuff on the channel. And especially like being a physician, you can't really endorse vaporware for, not the vapor tennis shoe, but like just, just pseudoscience stuff, because then you really start to lose a lot of credibility with like your in real life patients. So yeah, I've made it like I do very few sponsored stuff, but Power Step is one of the ones that I've really been a huge fan of beforehand, and I put most of my patients in them. If I'm not doing custom orthotics, it's Power Step.
Good to know.
Nice. We could ask you all the questions. When you were at BMP, when we were at BMP, you and Chris did like best shoes of the moment. Are there ever any brands that you like absolutely have to try always because they're making shoes that work perfectly for you and like really good technology? And on the flip side, is there anyone that you like ever seen or like, nah, I'm not going to try that one? Yeah,
I mean, well, I always want to try.
Yeah.
Because, I'm not perfect. I don't know. And a lot of times I'm surprised by a shoe that's I think is going to be horrible, and it's actually decent. And a lot of times I'll see a shoe, I'm like, oh, this is going to be great, and then it's just, I try not to badmouth any shoe on the channel, because that's why I started the way I review them. I review every shoe the exact same way. And so even if it's a great shoe, sometimes it'll get a really low rating in certain areas, and that's just the way it goes. There's no shoe that like I really like any brand that I'm like I have to have that. When the Coco CG2 came out, I really wanted to try that one.
I'm very jealous because I haven't gotten to try it. How is it? Tell me.
Oh, they are like the most explosive things out there. I wish New Balance would have come out with, I don't know, probably watching this, but I wish they would have come out with all of their sizes in the first run of them, because a lot of people wanted to buy them and they couldn't. So I think I'm excited for when everybody can try them. Because they are more explosive than the ones. The CG ones were good. They were a good first pass, and they were interesting, and they were different enough. But the twos are, at least in my opinion, a clear step up.
Nice. Did you get a D width?
So it's actually, I believe it's a C width, because it's quote unquote, it's a woman's lasted shoe. Yeah. That doesn't matter. You just go up 1/2 size from your normal size in the men's, and that takes care of it. So, I mean, it doesn't, like people that wanted a GP Turbo and they still made it because of Naomi Osaka. And I get a bunch of guys in my comment section like, well, why won't they make it for men? I said, just go up 1/2 size. You're fine. Just buy that one. So like that's what I did, because I wanted one more pair to have just for comparison. So I just bought 11, and instead of an 11 men, I bought an 11.5.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the nice thing. You can go between male and female sizes. All you got to do is make sure to size up or down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about best shoes.
Oh, and then brands I don't want to look at. No, because I want to know, because I would say after the Wave Exceed Tour, I think we're on the 5s right now. Yeah. So after the Wave Exceed Tour 4, I wasn't like super high up. Maybe it was the 3s. I forget.
Yeah.
I was like, I wasn't loving that shoe. It was personal preference. A lot of people love them. It's just me. But then they send me, or you think you guys send me, the Wave and Force Tour. And that's one of the best shoes I've ever played in. So it's like either you never know when something's going to come out that is just out of this world. And then all of a sudden, like the Wave Exceed Tour 5 comes out, and I really like that. So, you can't, it's really hard to pass judgment on a shoe, especially because a lot of times when they send the description, they don't really tell you exactly what's in it. They'll say like soft foam or explosive foam. What does that mean? So until you actually get into the shoe and actually start seeing what it's made of and what it can do and what it will do, it's hard to really pass judgment. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited for any new tennis shoe because we don't get them all that often.
Right.
So anytime something comes new out, like
you're on it.
I'm all for it. Yeah, for sure.
The Wave Exceeds. I remember testing, and I can't remember which one I loved the most. It was either the 2 or one of them was great. The other one, I agree with you. Like they kind of like lost their way a little bit.
Yeah, it's just the low ankle collar, and it felt kind of flat. The tongue, it felt kind of flat. I forget what it was. I forget which one it was.
Yeah.
And then I get the Enforce. I'm like, this is the greatest shoe I've ever tested. And so, I mean, that shoe is constantly number 1 on my list. And so, there you go. It's like 0 to hero So, and I mean,
I remember when that review came out for you and everyone was like, no. And then ours came out and I was like, is this the best shoe of the year? And like everyone at T-Dub also loved it. So it's a good shoe for sure.
for sure.
What are you excited about for 2025?
Am I allowed to say?
I know. We were talking about that earlier.
I'm super excited for a lot of nice shoes to come out.
Right.
I'm definitely very hopeful on a German company with 3 stripes.
Okay.
And something that's coming out from them.
That you're allowed to say because I'm pretty sure it launches beginning of December.
Okay, yeah. So I'm very excited for that because they changed some things up with that shoe that I really like. But no, I'm hoping we get more models. That's all. That's really all. You know, I'm excited for anything that comes out in the tennis shoe space. And then, like I said, there's been a lot of pickleball stuff and court stuff in general. And I think as the pickleball market picks up in terms of shoes, I think that'll probably bring up the tennis market. Hopefully, brings that up for more choice. So that's what I'm hopeful for, at least.
I have a couple questions on what he
please.
just spoke. Yeah. So in the Three Stripes brand, what's are you currently your favorite is Barricade or do you like Uber or
Oh
Cyber?
wait, yeah, I saw your Instagram story. He's and that was a question from YouTube too. He likes the old Barricades.
Yeah. So no, I mean the old Barricades are all right. I mean like the way old Barricades.
Yeah,
like
way,
the
way,
2s
way.
and the 3s.
Yeah.
I mean
Old. Old school.
But like so Adidas was like 2020, 2021, maybe 2019 through 2021 had the best tennis shoe lineup, bar none. They were still making the old Barricades. They had the Sole Match Bounce, the Sole Court Boost, which I still think is the best tennis shoe ever made, or one of them. And then they kind of started going more minimalist. So they, lower to the ground Barricade, which plays like butter, but it's not like they didn't offer the same product lineup. And so what's the new one? It's the Sole Match Bounce 2.
Yes. Soul
Match Control 2.
Yeah.
Soul Match Control.
So Match Control.
Cool.
Yeah,
I was
the
gonna
one
say
with
they
bounce
took
feminine again.
out. Yeah.
That comes out, I'm like, okay, like now it's getting back to me being on the foot doctor side of it, I care more about its, protective capability, the things that it does for people's feet versus playability, which is, I care about it, but it's secondary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the Barricades are one of like the most low to the ground, buttery feeling. So when did you break them in? Shoes out there, and like I said, and the design is good. It's just that whereas I used to recommend the Sole Court Boost almost exclusively at one point to page, like they'd come in, they're a tennis player, they think they're coming in to see like the shoe expert, and it's like yes, Sole Court Boost, and it was almost just rote at some point. Everyone liked them, and they were doing really well. Whereas like now when people come to my office, it's usually the Wave and Force Tour or the Diadora Blue Shield Tornado 2. And like those are the ones I'm almost like, it's just almost rote at this point for a lot of stuff because they're so good for so many things. I don't have the random person come in and I'll recommend something crazy too, but I'm hoping that we get back to that. Like it's great. Ubersonic, the Cybersonic's a cool shoe. That's all well and good. And I think you should have those. You should have a lineup. But I think we still need to see the maximalist stuff come out, right? Like the true, like, I have had a hell of a day type shoes. And I don't know if my knee is going to hold up in this match, that type of shoe. And that's
funny.
That's the shoe I'm looking for
I
every
know,
day.
yeah, you guys have very similar tastes in shoes too, so that's great. I was gonna say if you do have someone coming to you, let's just go a few, just because our listeners are always looking for the best, and it's hard for everyone to always go there. So like best wide shoe right now for comfort and stability.
CT Rally 2E from New Balance. Anything in a 2E. You can get something in a 2E. Or what is it? The Yonex Sonic Cage 3
wide.
Plus or wide. Sometimes I see it in a wide or a 2E. Sometimes I see it as plus. But whatever the Sonic Cage is, it's wide.
Yeah.
That has that really wide plastic shank on the bottom, and that one's super stable to the ground. As long as you're not a super low volume heel, because you can slip if you're super low volume in the rear foot of those. But if you're not, I would say those two are best for that particular case.
Right. CT Rally, good shoe. And if you can get wide. Yeah.
Right. And same for the narrow feet, because I feel like all the narrow shoes are like more speed oriented.
Yeah. The Eclipsean will lock down a narrow foot, and that's more of a side-to-side shoe. The Cybersonics, more, it's narrow, but it fits like a glove. So it's not just narrow for narrow's sake. What I like about those, Nike's making shoes super narrow, right? I mean, they're a lot of their lineup is pretty narrow at this point. Trying to think. Those are probably the better ones. Like I said, a lot of tennis shoes right now are being made a little bit more narrow lasted, which some people find is great. Some people will not like.
Were you a fan of the Challenge Pro?
The GP Challenge Pro?
Yeah.
That says it all.
It's okay, but the jamming in the toe box is, and I got crushed for that too. Everyone's like, there's no way. And then everyone starts saying, I'm getting bloody toenails. I was like, oh my God, I told you.
Yeah.
I was just so excited for it because it was like the update to the turbos. And then it wasn't. And so the GP what was it? What's the other one? What's the takedown of it? The GP.
So that the Pro is the wider kind of takedown. The
Oh,
Challenge.
no, I'm sorry.
The one.
To one. The
What?
Tiafoe is a Challenge 1.
The Challenge one. I'm sorry. That's the one that no, I do like the Challenge Pro. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Because it has a rear foot flange in it.
Okay.
So not only does it have a lateral flange on the forefoot of the shoe, but it also has it on the back. So it actually is a pretty stable shoe. I don't love it for like trying to haul from one side of the baseline to the other, but in terms of like a pickleball shoe, in terms of short court movement, actually I think that one was on my top 5 list for pickleball. I'm sorry, I keep getting the Pro and the one.
Yeah, because
Yeah, it's
I got
very
I got the
confusing.
toe jam on the one as
On
well.
the one, yeah, it's a super because the tongue is thin. There's so much weight in the bottom of the shoe, which is fine, but it just means that the uppers like don't necessarily hold your foot in. Now you can put some thick moleskin under the tongue and try to fix that a little bit, but to me the Challenge Pro is definitely a step up from the Challenge 1 just because like the ergonomics of the shoe, not necessarily any of the materials in it.
And just to clear it up, when you said flange, is that kind of what these shoe brands are calling an outrigger?
Yeah, I don't know where I know a lot of people in my comments will be like, what do you mean a lateral flange? That's from my textbooks. Like when I was like doing shoes, like that's an
That's what it
outrigger.
should be. Okay.
Yeah, maybe it is outrigger. I have no idea.
think
I've always
that's
called it a
it.
flange, and like just for on rote, I just say a flange. But
Yeah.
Maybe we'll start using the word flange in our
Yeah,
descriptions.
Dr.
That
Zach.
actually makes more sense than an outrigger.
Yeah.
Well, because like outrigger, I feel like is like something on the outside. So like an external
Yeah.
heel counter
Yeah.
is an outrigger heel counter. But like something that's built into the shoe. I guan guess an outrigger for like a boat. But
Yeah. I think sidecar on like a
Yeah.
motorcycle.
Yeah.
that's actually I like that. Might start using that.
How should a tennis shoe fit us? Should it be snug? Should it be the 2 fingers? How should it fit?
Should
So
it-
usually I say like almost your full thumb width
Okay.
of room in the toe box. Some people don't like that. Some people want to be all the way up in there. That's fine. And then you should not have to cramp in the shoe. So people get really crazy about how the shoe fits in the toe box. To me, it's how it fits here in the metatarsals. That's the more important thing. You should have a nice lockdown right before you get to your metatarsals. So in the midfoot, your ankle should lock down, and then you should have a little bit of room in here. And then obviously, tennis shoes, basketball shoes, volleyball shoes usually have a little bit of inflare, and they're a little bit more glove-like fitting so that when you're going up to serve, you don't just pummel through your foot and splay out. You want all these metatarsals to be able to this is exaggerating, but you want them to be able to stack together and push up off the big toe joint. So that's how it should fit. It should be snug enough that you're not moving around, because that's cause bloody toenails, that'll cause blisters and sprain and strain injuries. But you don't want it too crazy in there where it's, you're cramping them.
I don't know if it's just me, but I've got the pinky toe that will always be like that for the rest of my life.
Mine's like,
Is
turn.
that
It's
tennis?
turn.
Is that just a tennis thing, or am I wearing the wrong shoes?
No, that's number one. That's mom, dad, grandma, and grandpa.
Okay.
Your foot is a family tree. But most shoes, they start to inflare on the tip. And if you wear shoes a lot, that 5th toe does have a lot of flexibility. And a lot of people, they actually have these 2 bones fused. There's quite a high population of people that do. And so there's a really big lever arm up here, a really big fulcrum that just wants to push it over.
That's funny.
So,
my non-tennis friends like to make fun of me, but hey, here we are talking about tennis.
But that's good to know. With the I typically with my shoes, I feel like I go closer to the tip of the toe.
And people like that. I mean, everyone always says like, oh, Rafa Nadal wears his shoes like, 3 sizes too small. He doesn't. He just has a shoe that fits him to his exact foot shape. And so to a normal person, yeah, that would be a lot smaller than your actual shoe size. But not all of us can get a major brand to last our shoes custom to us.
Yeah.
Right.
You look at any like really high level professional athlete, they're going to have a shoe that the footbed on there is the exact shape they want it to be. So
let's talk a little bit about outsoles and outsole patterns. Do you have a favorite hardcore outsole pattern? Is there anything new that you've seen? Does it matter?
No, I mean, honestly, right now I feel like every shoe brand is doing the flat herringbone for sliders. And honestly, does it really matter as long as it's multi-directional? Like, it also depends on your footwork. Do you want to slide a ton? All right, then, then get the Vapor Pro 2 or the Vapor 11, right? Like those are going to slide like crazy. Do you want to grip a lot? Then you need a shoe that has maybe a little bit of more narrow tread, spaced out a little bit more, but those aren't going to last as long, well, unless you're Asics. But the best thing I've seen recently, and the most new and like exciting thing, is the Yonex clay shoes with the half circles. Because and when I first saw it, I was like, but what happens is when you're beating the clay off the bottom of your shoe, there's enough hole, because the herringbone, there's no openings in it, right? So it can get stuck in there. Versus those where they're just half circles and there's break points, the clay just slides through them. So you never cake up clay in your shoes.
That's nice.
So I gave my dad a couple pairs, and he will not wear anything else now because he plays on really like kind of uneven Hartrue, and some of it's really clumpy, some of it's really dry. And so he used to just he was just beating a racket against his shoes all the time to try to get it off. And now it just slides through, and he's like, this is the best thing that's ever happened. He's like, I will not, like, he's like, this is it. This is all I'm wearing now. So I think it's something like that where it's like just like this stupid little thing. Yeah, just make break points in it so that the clay falls through. But it works. And you can wear them on grass because they kind of have these little nubs in them too. And I think grass clubs will probably let you wear that versus wearing herringbone, where they don't want you wearing that because it'll tear it up. I remember going to the Rhode Island Tennis Hall of Fame courts, and they hated us because we had herringbone, and we like kind of didn't tell them. And so we were playing on that center court. And
Banned for life. Your
Yeah.
picture's like, do
Yeah,
not
right,
let him play.
The Yonex clay outsole. Chris has mentioned that before. I think for someone that was searching for a grass shoe and couldn't find one, he was like, that's a good alternative.
And they're really the only. They're on their own on the market right now until somebody else comes up with something like that. But it's just super unique. But for hard court, like I said, it just depends on what you're doing. I mean, if you're someone that you're playing on slick hard courts and you don't like to slide, then you better not wear something that has a flatter pattern. You better be in something that has a little bit more, grip to it. So, like I said, I've always liked, the Asics Court FF2, I think actually had the best hard court outsole tread pattern maybe ever, because it was a gentle wave, but the wave got thicker in certain points, and it was smooth. You could slide if you wanted. It would grip when you wanted to. It didn't feel like super glue on the court. It was just super. Plus now, like Lacoste with the AGLT 23 Ultra, or is it agility or is it AGLT?
Oh, we say AG.
Yeah, because someone said, no, it's agility.
Oh.
And that's
It's
a good
short.
point.
It's short for agility. Yeah, I don't know.
Learn something new.
Yeah, I
every
don't
day.
know. Yeah.
What do we know?
But that one's got, if you look at it under a microscope, it's actually got a gridding stamped into each individual tread line. So it actually is gripping on a micro and macro level. Now, of course, if you slide a lot, you're going to wipe that off. But for somebody that's maybe a little bit more like dancing ballet type footwork, that's really nice. And I've seen some basketball shoes now come up that too. And that works really well on hardwood. But like if you're playing tennis on those like rubberized courts or carpet, things like that, that can really be an asset. So yeah, I'd say the micro gridding too. Another big thing.
Okay, and we had a question from YouTube that was, what should they be looking for when they're looking for cushioning for long hours of comfort on the court? Like, as a consumer, like, everyone's like, ooh, comfortable, it's a comfortable ride. What should they be looking for based on what a shoe looks like?
So if you're going to be on the court for an extended period of time, eventually the ball of your foot and the heel is going to start to sink into that shoe. The foam can only hold up so long. So you need a shoe that in the midfoot gives you enough cradling that you're not just doing this. So it's more the shank of the shoe to me that is the important thing versus the comfort. Also just the shoe that fits your foot. I mean, unless you're playing in something that's rock hard, right? Some of these takedown shoes just have rock hard midsoles that are just not good. Also, it's, if you want to be on court all day, look at every professional tennis player's shoes. What do they have in there? They have a custom orthotic or some orthotic in there that is, holding up their arch and not allowing their foot to pummel through it. So I think that's, number one, find an orthotic or something that is going to relieve your foot of that stress and strain throughout the day. And doing that will honestly, that will do wonders for you. That can make a middling shoe actually feel a lot better.
That's actually really interesting. I'm thinking of all day at BMP and everyone always goes for those running shoes and now because we've all done those days where you're on your feet all day and you're wearing your Ultra Boost or whatever and you're like, why do my feet hurt?
I wear old man if I'm at work all day, I'm wearing old man shoes. I wear the New Balance 840, which that's like the GOAT. If you want to talk about a GOAT shoe, that is the GOAT shoe. It's a jogging shoe, but it's super stable. The foam is plush enough, but it keeps your foot from pummeling into the ground.
So interesting.
Maybe I need to try that at BMP.
Yeah, I know.
Because I hurt myself one year. You talked about in the opening of this podcast of the shoes being too squishy. Mm-hmm. I had the Adidas 4Ds, those webbing midsoles.
Oh, the 44. Really? That one, I was going to say, that one's actually a pretty sturdy, but maybe
this
it
was from 3 or 4 years ago. So it was
really?
one of the first gens.
Oh, okay.
And it had that mesh upper.
Yeah.
And I just wore it for a few days on the demo court all day. And
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have.
Shoes, yeah.
I shouldn't have, but I wanted something soft and
cool.
And exactly what you said. My bottom of my feet felt great, but up my calf and my
shin splints,
those muscles were doing so much because I was on a waterbed of my feet kind of thing.
That's crazy.
Especially being hard courts are unforgiving.
Unforgiving.
It is not, they're not pleasant. But I can't tell many people that have come into my office that I've put in something just an over-the-counter orthotic, something so simple. And they're like, you're a genius. Oh my God, I should have come here years ago. I'm like, dude, this is not, people just don't think that something that's simple can fix something. But, a lot of times, it's the simplest answer that is, the most effective. The simplest modality is the most effective.
I have a shoe question. Now, I know these are pickleball specific shoes. But have you tested the Skechers Viper Court Elite and Viper Court Pro, the MacGuffin shoe? Yeah. So I have a pair of the Elites that were handed down to me, and they are one of the most comfortable shoes.
This is what I keep hearing.
That we have technically in
our
system.
Are those the ones that have the arch fit insole in them?
I believe so.
Okay. So you got to take that in. So what you got to do is some Skechers shoes have it, some don't. In the basketball lineup, they're starting to make them with normal insoles, which they should continue to do that. When you take some of the Skechers insoles out, you'll notice that the entire arch of that shoe is the insole. Now, that is great if you are a lighter weight player, aren't going to be using them for heavy use, because, they're super comfortable. But if you bottom that out, then the shoe becomes a little bit less comfortable. I forget which ones in the court shoe space that they have started, like Rakia Jackson in the basketball space. Her shoe now does not have just a standard insole you can put an orthotic in. That shoe actually is a lot better. Joel Embiid in the basketball space has his own, and so that's a little bit different. But I don't know. I'm excited to see where Skechers goes, because I feel like the first Viper Court to the net, and then on and on and on from there, every iteration of their shoes has gotten better for court sports, has gotten better and better in a very parabolic curve. And so I think in the years to come, I think if they just continue what they're doing, you're going to start to see some really good stuff, as long as they kind of keep the direction that they're going. Because a comfort walking shoe and a court shoe, the comfort and the performance comes from just totally different things. Yeah. So versus, you see a lot of people in Skechers just as casual shoes for work, whatever. Hey, that's great. And they are very comfortable. Their boots are one of the most comfortable things on the planet. And so them and Altra, the boots, but in terms of court sports, you're just looking at totally different things. So,
yeah.
I'm gonna bring up a brand that we don't carry, but I like to talk about. What do you think about Birkenstocks?
My wife was she's a foot doctor too. She was really high up on them for a long time. And if you like that, Birkenstock and Dansko, there's those clogs. They're the same. Like people that like those, like the others. If you like that more dense, really supportive, like custom fit. Because I mean, honestly, Birkenstocks become a custom insole at a certain point because you break them inside. Some people do not like the feeling of them.
They're firm, yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. I have never personally been like them me, but I've put a lot of patience in them, right? Because what's good for me is not like, it's not an endorsement, right? If I like a shoe, it doesn't mean I think it's good for you. But I've put a lot of people in them, and a lot of people love them. And there are some people that have come in, and that's like really the only type of footwear that they can handle. People that have like really hypermobility and things like that, or don't want to have to get a custom orthotic, but want to say, there's nuances there. But yeah, I mean, they're good for the right person.
How many pairs of shoes do you have?
Cut open or two pairs,
okay.
or like an actual pair?
My cut open question is, does a little part of you as a shoe geek and sneakerhead die every time you cut a shoe open?
No, I mean, here's the thing. I don't care about the collecting of the shoe.
Yeah.
I care about what it can do.
That's cool.
And so, especially for my job, like I was cutting open shoes before I started the YouTube channel, right? People don't really, I mean, I was doing this as just a part of my, like, cause I was trying to be like, in my area where I was practicing, I was trying to be like the person who did this stuff, and YouTube just came along naturally. But if people always like, well, you're not a true sneakerhead because you cut them open. To me, my love of shoes comes from what's inside of them and what they can do and how they interact with the foot. And so to me, like, that's my favorite part. Is like opening it up like Christmas morning, right? And seeing what is in there and seeing cool. If like, what a company says is it really, and what can this do? And hey, like a new shoe comes out, and, oh my God, I got something now I can tell this person or this person about. So no, not really. There's some shoes I want to keep,
yeah.
That I'm like, well, if I get them sent by a brand, most of them, they're not sending me two of them. And if I buy them, I'm not going to buy two pairs just to cut one open so I can keep one.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, except for me wanting to keep one just for personal use, no. And I like having the profile, and I love being able to like take one and be like, oh, I got a patient this week that would love to see this.
Oh, that's
grab it
cool.
and be able to show them. And that's such a fun thing. It's like, their eyes light up when you finally get through to them. Like, this is why your foot hurts. So that's kind of, but yeah, no, in terms of shoes that I have, I do not have a lot of shoes.
Really?
If you look at my studio, especially the new one I just built, I've got, I think, like 3 or 4 pairs behind me. And then I have ASICS sent me the Paris colorway of the Gel Resolution 9. I have those hanging up. And that's about it.
Okay.
I really do not have, if I get a pair of shoes that like I don't need, I usually give it away. And not to the people in my comment section that scream at me because I should be donating shoes to them. I've never met them before.
Yeah.
But usually, like if it's someone at the gym I go to that needs a new pair, or like a patient that comes in that's my size that could use them, I'll send them there. Buddies of mine, or we'll just give them to, there's like the St. Vincent de Paul Society right down that like gives it to like kids that like don't have, people that actually need.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I'll just send them there because I don't have any use for them.
Yeah.
Or if it's a tennis shoe in my size that my father likes, he will literally he'll just come in and just be like, oh, that's nice, and then just pull it, and all of a sudden I see it's in his car. Oh,
Michelle had that happen to her with your GP challenges. And they were the cool, like a retro,
the Tiafo,
the colorway that was supposed to be like the old challenge series,
right?
The red, the fiery red, and the black.
And she works long days on her feet, so I was like, I'm always like, kind of like, you can have these, and then she's like, thanks, and now like she'll wear them, and people like will compliment her on them, and I'm like, I kind of wanted those back.
She came up
every year. I do a top 5 clay video.
Yeah.
And my dad plays mostly on Hard True. And so we do in this video, I have a ton of shoes. So I'll go through a lot of them. And at the end of every year, it never fails. I'll be putting them away, and he'll just come over and goes, I like these ones.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm like,
you never see him again. Yeah.
Like, all right, cool. Because I mean, usually I'm not cutting those ones because it's top 5 videos. So I think, I don't want to have them. So yeah, my dad has way more shoes than I do.
I'll actually tell you one more story about my mom because this really got me, grinded my gears. So she gets a lot of nice tennis shoes that I'm done with them. Here you go, girl. These are nice. They're comfortable. Wear them. The other day, a couple weeks ago, we go to the beach a lot. She also had bought in her Birkenstocks. She decided to wear the cheapest, lamest pieces of plastic flip-flops to walk around. We did like a mile or so, walk around in, and the next day she could not get up because her back.
Oh, my wife, foot doctor, went to the most competitive residency in the country. She went did a fellowship in Italy for external. I mean, this woman is like the most legit bad, bleeped it out surgeon for foot and ankle you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
She wore these. I took her to Disney for her 40th birthday.
Oh, no.
She wore these little flip-flops there. She's screaming bloody murder at me because her feet look like Freddy Krueger. I said, "You're a foot doctor." And I pleaded with her, just wear your Ultra Boost. Like, just wear those. No, they're not cute. We're going to be taking a lot of pictures.
Oh, my gosh.
And she's really not like that. Like, I mean, she really doesn't. She's not like, but for some reason, on that day, it was, no, I am wearing this. And she, it was like a week later, and she was like, "You may actually have to do surgery on my foot."
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, because she gets these really bad calluses on her, and she was like, and she really wants me to do a hammer toe procedure.
Oh my god.
And she's like, "You may have to do it now. You may have to do it."
So
yeah.
wear matters.
I'm just thinking of what my dad says. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, I know. I literally scolded her so bad. I was like, never again. You're not. I'm like, throw them away now. And she's like, ugh. No, I'm like, serious.
Well, it's not just her. Put it that way. Everybody falls victim to it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we are about out of time, but if you could give everyone your top 3, like, these are great shoes. If you're hesitating, you don't know what to buy or what to try, what are you recommending?
It's nice because, like I said, the catch-all shoe is the Wave and Force Tour.
Mm-hmm.
It's another catch-all is like the CT Rally. And then the Eclipsean 5 now, not the 4, but the 5 is kind of like is a great catch-all shoe, just something you can recommend to so many people. The Babolat Jet Mach 3 has been around since the dawn of time, I think, but that is like a really good just catch-all, can recommend to everybody. In terms of like budget shoes, I would say Challenge Pro is a great one. And remember, you can get a flagship shoe in last year's colorway. It's the same shoe, just because it's a different color. I mean, that's why I say, like, what's the best budget shoe? I was like, well,
the one that's
find the CT Rally in last year's colorway, or the Enforce, or the Blue Shield Tornio 1, or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just get it in last year's colorway. But like I say, I mean, and as people have pointed out on the Talk Tennis forums, I oftentimes skew toward the more like foot podiatrist approved shoes versus like the hyper, performance only type. So take that with a grain of salt, salt, but that's what
and then last fun question. You've brought up a lot of classics that we all like. If there were a shoe that you could bring back, which one is it?
The Reebok Fig Jam.
Oh, okay.
Or the Air Oscillate. The Air Oscillate would be a distant second. But I mean, when I was in high school, I would spike my hair up like Roddick would. Have in one of my high school pictures, I was wearing that. But I mean, I remember when the Fig Jam came out and I was like allowed to buy it.
Oh my gosh!
I thought, this is it.
This is it.
This is it. Like, this is like, my life's over. Like, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. Oh my God, I would save up all my money just to buy all the colorways of that shoe. I remember when the gray and white one came out for the French Open. I mean, I don't think I was like stuck in bed. Like, I had paralysis. I was so excited about that shoe.
That's cool. I never tried the Fig Jam, but I did try many versions of the Match Day Pump.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
The court. Yeah, you had like the new one. Was it the Roddick one or the old school Chang one?
The Roddick one.
Yeah, that's and it's funny because I had all the colorways of that too. And then at a certain point, I was like, why? This is before I started the channel. I was like, why do I have all these?
Yeah.
And so like I just gave them away to like players that wanted, because it was still like when they were still out. And I was like, guys, I don't need to be a pack rat. I was moving, and now I'm buying them over again at crazy inflated prices, trying to get them again. And I had them all in my basement, but.
So comfortable, but like 20 ounces or something like that.
They were tanks.
18 ounces, 17 ounces.
That's wild.
Oh yeah, like your ankle would break off of your leg wearing them. But I put it this way: they put them out again, I would wear them every day.
I would wear them.
Every day.
They were comfortable.
Well, you never know.
Yeah.
Where can people come and check out your content, your videos?
Yeah, it's just at Foot Dr. Zach on YouTube and really everywhere else on Instagram. I don't really go on TikTok. But yeah, at Foot Dr. Zach, it's on YouTube. Oh, and for the tennis specific,
Yes.
I have the second channel now, which is Foot Dr. Zach Dubs, DUBBS, as in doubles, second channel. And that's like where I do more of like the takedown shoes, the hyper niche tennis stuff.
Nice.
That, well, I wouldn't necessarily put on the main channel anymore, but I still want to give reviews on. So that's more of like the niche. That's like the legends go to that channel. And then like I'll do follow-ups. Like I just did a Jet Mach 3 follow-up like 3 years later.
Oh, nice.
On that channel. So yeah, just if you put in Foot Doctor tennis, Foot Doctor shoes, I come up. So
cool. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. This
and
was
happy
exciting.
hitting. Yay.
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 Good stuff.